Hello students, welcome to the second part of participatory stakeholder engagement. So first we will discuss
what are the benefit and cost of stakeholder participation in DRR? First one is benefit of DRR. First thing is improved program or project design. Okay, you will get a better project design because you will reflect all the priorities and need of everybody, that is every stakeholder. Okay, next, suppose you have given many proposals and if all are sitting together, so it can be verified the relevance of your project as well as the appropriateness of the proposed interventions. Next is strengthening stakeholder commitment to and the ownership of policies and project, leading to increased uptake of the project services and greater willingness to share a cost. See, suppose everybody is involved in the meeting. So you will have a particular dedication towards, or you will have a particular interest towards your project. For example, suppose we are going to build a dam and we are conducting a meeting of stakeholders. Then we can strengthen their belongingness, and those people who are involved in this meeting will be ready to share the cost and all. So we can strengthen the stakeholder commitment so that they will be helping our project. So next is enhance sustainability as a result of increased stakeholder ownership. Next, we have some more things like we will get an opportunity. See, if we conduct a meeting and we'll get an opportunity to foresee and resolve the obstacles over there, we can resolve the constraints, we can resolve the conflicts over there, and we can understand what the social and environmental impact will happen. Next, we can provide a social learning if we get a field experience from the people who knows about that particular area. Next is you can have a capacity building of the stakeholders and local institutions. I explained what is capacity building. The capacity building is that if you have a seminars, workshop and all, you can build the capacity of the stakeholder. Then there can be improved means of ensuring the project benefit as distributed equitably. Okay, so the project benefit can be distributed equally to everyone. Then strengthen the working relation between the stakeholders, government and civil society organization and development partners. So you can strengthen the relationship between each and every stakeholders if you conduct a regular meeting. Next is what are the cost and risk of disaster reduction. See, I have already told that if there is an absence of any type of stakeholder, then your project is going to get flop, or lack of stakeholder participation can lead to first a sense of indifference between the stakeholders' opinion and all. So the fund will be reduced, more time will be taken for this disaster risk reduction, and the resources available will not be used properly. See, if you're not making all the stakeholders to participate, your plan will be very poor. So these are the major dangers when the lack of stakeholder participation happens. Next thing is that you know that the government is being formed from the political parties. Moreover, the politics and all will not work in disaster reduction plan. So the government may not participate too much. Okay. Next, there will be difficulty in reaching out the marginalized group and ensuring a true priority and the need of the poor and vulnerable people are represented. So you won't get their needs, what are their problems, everything will not be dealt. And there will be difficulty in identifying a genuine representative, a non-governmental organization and civil society organization. So next thing is that you cannot even define the power or articulate the stakeholders. You cannot exclude the poor. You can't even realize who is giving the realistic expectation. Aggravating conflicts between the stakeholder group with different priority and interest, that is also lead to the failure. Then weak capacity of the beneficiary and intermediary organization is also a problem. Challenges of coordinating effort with ongoing consultation, participation process in order to avoid consultation fatigue. That is, suppose now some people will be engaged in a particular project. At the same time, they cannot take our project also. So, depending upon the priority also, there will be some problem in doing our disaster risk reduction process. Next, we are going to discuss about the basic steps in participatory stakeholder engagement. According to Clayton in 1997, he defined the stakeholder engagement is the identification of the project keys, stakeholder, and assessment of their interests and the way in which these interests affect the project riskiness and viability. The first thing is identification of the key stakeholder, access their interests and utilize them for your project and ask them to actively participate in your project. Now, there is one more person that Oakley in 1995 defined stakeholder analysis. So, stakeholder analysis is the methodology for identifying and analyzing the key stakeholders in a project and planning for the participation. So, here also what we are doing is that you are analyzing and identifying the key stakeholders, whether they can be utilized for your project or not. Okay, and make them to participate in our disaster reduction project. Okay, so this is actually the starting point of a participatory process, and it is also provides a foundation of the design of subsequent stakeholder activity throughout the project cycle. And one more thing, we have to make sure that their work should be monitored and should be reviewed and refined from time to time. So these are the participatory stakeholder engagement. Now, next is the basic steps in participatory stakeholder engagement. So these steps are very important and therefore they are called as key steps for stakeholder analysis. The first thing is you have to identify key stakeholders. That is, it can be a primary stakeholder, it can be secondary stakeholders, it can be a key stakeholder. So first thing, you have to identify the stakeholder. Second thing, you have to assess the stakeholder interest. That is, now what all things he is doing and what all disaster reduction plan he is interested in, what all area he is interested in disaster risk reduction plan. So here what we do is that we find out the stakeholder interest and their power, also their current interest, and we have to utilize them in our project, and also we have to bring them to our project. Now, next is assess the stakeholder influence and importance. In order to define the power and interest of the stakeholder, we have to create a table, and this table is called as pyramid method. From this, you will get an idea about the power of the stakeholder. Depending on the power, they can be primary stakeholder, secondary stakeholder and key stakeholders. So if we get an idea about the power, we can use them in our project and also bring them effectively to our project. For example, it's a flood reduction plan. Okay. Now, who are stakeholders involved in flood reduction plan? We can say that the government agencies. Okay. Next, you can have a non-government agency as well as the local people living over there. So these all are the stakeholders. And finally, in the step 4, we will outline a stakeholder participation strategy. Okay, if we know the importance and the influence of the stakeholder from the above steps, then we can outline the stakeholder participation strategy.
So students, I am stopping here. The rest part of this participatory stakeholder will be dealt in the next video. Thank you.